Hey guys, Dr. Norm. I was reminded of a phrase or a question that I used to hear back when I was a professor. Oftentimes when I would be lecturing on a particularly difficult concept, every once in a while a student would raise their hand and ask, will this be on the test? And I know where that question's coming from, and I probably asked it myself when I was in school, but if your goal is to pass the test, then it's actually a really good question. However, if your goal is to become a good quality chiropractor, a better question would be, will this apply to me in practice? Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is oftentimes when you're in school, you're going to be learning about certain concepts and certain things that you might think are optional, and they can be considered optional in practice. So when you're in school, and I'm going to give you two specific examples, there's a bunch, but learning about insurance and learning about x-rays. Those can be very difficult concepts, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So as a student, you might just choose to say, you know what, in my practice, I'm going to run a cash practice. I'm not going to take any x-rays on people. Cool. Now I've freed up all this brain space. I don't need to learn any of that stuff. I understand where you're coming from with that, but I would highly discourage you from doing that. I would encourage you not to do, you know what I mean? Learn x-rays, learn insurance. That's what I'm telling you to do, or what I'm suggesting you do. Because if you learn insurance and learn x-ray, in my example here, and then later on in practice you choose not to do that, now it's easier to go that way than it is to go the other way. If you try to ignore all of that stuff right now while you're in school, then you get hired by a practice that does a lot of insurance and takes x-rays on everybody. You're going to wish you had paid attention more in class. So while you're in the learning mode, while you're still absorbing, absorb as much as you can. So I've done it both ways. I've worked in practices that don't take x-rays, and I've worked in practices that take x-rays on everybody, and I've also worked in cash practices, and I've worked in insurance practices. So I understand the argument both ways, and this is not a video about whether or not you should be cash or whether or not you should be taking x-rays. This is a video about don't close yourself off to learning these things just because you think they're difficult, and it would be, it's better not to go down that road. So, you know what, I'm just not going to learn about insurance at all, and I'll just be a cash practice. Again, depending on the state where you practice, or depending on the practice you join, insurance might be a great thing, or insurance might be a terrible thing. So until you know that for sure, until you know exactly where you're going to be or how you're going to practice, until you're able to create your ideal practice, go ahead and learn this stuff. And learn from others, not just the coursework, not just from your professors. Go out and shadow practices. I preach that all the time. Go out and shadow practices that are exactly like the way you want to practice, and shadow practices that are completely opposite of how you want to practice. You may learn some things in both situations. Okay, so if right now you've decided I'm going to be cash only, no x-ray, open adjusting, box on the wall, whatever you're saying you're going to do, great. Now go to a PI mill and try to just shadow there, just to see what it's like, and just to see if there's anything in that environment that you can learn. I mean, you might come out of there going, I am so glad I'm not going to practice that way, because that seems terrible. But then now you know. So the point that I'm trying to make, and the point that I'm kind of beating the dead horse here, but learn as much as you can right now. Don't be afraid of something just because it's difficult. Take the time to learn as much as you can about it, and then later on you can decide if it's something you want to do or not do. Okay? So again, if you guys have any questions, leave them below. And like I said in a previous video, I am in the process of putting out a lot more content. So any suggestions you have or questions you have, please reach out to me either in a comment below or over on the Facebook page, the Chiro Compass group that we have there for students. Or you can also reach out to me on chirocompass.com. All right? Take care.